Live? Huh?
What's up?
We live? For some? Hello. Where did do that? Okay, well, we're live for some of you guys. Yes, we're trying to get it to go live for Instagram, and it likes to give us a little bit of trouble here and there. So I'm going to let Ryan fiddle around with that. But welcome. Thank you guys so much for joining us. As you see, for us South Florida folk, we are bundled up.
It's cold.
I am frozen right now. It is very cold in this studio. We don't have heat because why do we need things like that in South Florida? Besides the random times that this happens. Yeah, so it's cold. So if you see me shiver, don't worry about it. Everything's fine.
You have an awesome topic for today.
Yes, we do. Which is great too, because it's going to keep me focused on the topic and not how cold I am. Did it work?
Sure.
Okay, awesome. Again, thank you all. And for that, now we got Instagram Live. So Instagram, thank you so much for joining us. If you don't already, please make sure you like and subscribe to our channel. It helps us and it also helps you. We bring you this content. It's okay if we're not fully in, sorry. With Instagram, if you were on there, it has this teeny window that we're both supposed to fit in.
We can
and it doesn't really make that. But it's okay. All right, so make sure you guys like and subscribe to our channel, ask questions, leave comments, and if you have questions on the topic today, we will get to those at the end, or we try to get to as many as we can. So make sure you write them in, think about them. Again, favorite topic.
Yes.
And I know I probably say that a lot because all this stuff is, one of my favorites because I just find it all fascinating. It's science. It's science. Yeah, evidence-based stuff. It's real. Exactly. It's real. When there's no fluff.
Right.
But today we're talking about muscle. All about it. So the topic is muscle is the ultimate longevity marker. Why protein, resistance training, and aminos matter now more than ever. And you hear us talk about muscle a lot. You hear us talk about protein specifically a lot. So we're going to get a little bit deeper or do a little bit of deeper dive into the why this is so crucial. So when we talk about longevity, sometimes we think about it and we ask the wrong question. So we talk about lifespan.
Sure.
You hear us talk about that.
Yep.
That is how long we live, right? You hear us talk about, or if you're new to us, maybe you haven't, but if you've been around for a while, you always hear us talk about health span.
Sure.
And that is basically how well we live. So it's how long we live in a healthy state. But the missing piece and the most predictive metric is muscle span.
Oh, right on.
Which is pretty cool, right?
That is cool.
So muscle span reflects how long we maintain functional, metabolically active muscle. I want you to think about when I say it, we're gonna go into it, but metabolically active muscle. Without it, health span collapses, right? So we think about so many other things, but you don't think about what major player metabolically active muscle has in our health span, right? So it really is and should always be considered the true longevity organ. Yes, your muscle is an organ, and it's something that we can control. We have control over this organ, right? How much of it we have or how little of it we have, which is a pretty powerful thing, because if we have the power to control an organ, guys, you've got to do whatever it is that you can to control this organ. And we always think about muscle as being, but in general, a lot of it is thought about muscle being cosmetic. And while it's aesthetically appealing to some, it is not meant to be cosmetic, right? It functions as a endocrine for our endocrine system, right? Metabolic, it functions as a metabolic, endocrine, and structural organ. Again, going back to our muscle, organ is an organ.
Yeah, and endocrine meaning excreting hormones.
Yes.
Right.
Yep. So the things
Right.
that it plays a role in. So I'm going to list a few major things that muscle influences. Our blood sugar regulation.
Oh,
So
yeah, big
think
time. Way more
diabetes,
metabolically
insulin
active than fat.
resistance,
Sure.
hormonal balance, which we just talked about, why it's an endocrine organ.
Right.
Immune function, right? We all want to take these high dose vitamin C's to increase our immunity. Let's
That's
think
right.
about things that we can do to naturally have this immunity, right?
Sure.
Our brain health,
Big time.
big time,
Big time.
inflammation,
Mhm.
and we're going to get into this one a little heavier, but bone integrity. So much to do with our bone,
Mhm.
right? So same thing goes. We think, oh, our bone is starting to decline. We need to take calcium. Well, yes, but there's other things that you really need to do to help and prevent that decline. So we don't just age into disease first, we age into muscle loss first. The muscle loss starts to happen first.
Okay.
Right? And it's not necessarily something we see, right? If you look, if you are completely made of muscle, you start to visually see when it's declining. But for many of us, we can't see what's going on with our muscle. There's layers of other things over it, right? Covering it, or little padding covering our muscles. So you don't always notice when you lose things. And if you're not challenging your body, your muscles, you're not going to notice that picking up your shopping bag is a little bit harder to pick up, because you might just say, oh, it's a heavy bag today, right? You don't notice when you're losing muscle. So, right?
Yeah, I was going to say, though, it's good to shift the paradigm a little bit away from thinking of muscle as this aesthetic feature. Because, when you guys hear this, what we're talking about, I don't know, are you visualizing like a bodybuilder? Are you thinking someone that's very muscular? Because that's not normal either.
Right. That takes a lot of that's intentional. It's very, very intentional to get to what that is.
To build that type of muscle mass through hypertrophy is going to be also not healthy, right? There's a lot of reasons why a bodybuilder's metabolic health is also compromised.
Sure.
So that's not what we're suggesting at all. And you'd be surprised actually what we're suggesting. And it really comes down to body composition. That could look like your average 1950s male or female walking down the street of New York City.
Right.
Right. You know what I mean? They're just moving it up. And we'll talk a little bit about what that looks like as far as possibly the exercise component to make that muscle happen. It's not what you think.
Right. Right.
Right. It's not load-bearing exercise for 2 hours a day.
No.
And so don't get the wrong idea. This isn't like, all right, I've heard, because for me, if I'm a viewer and I've just not been, say, super active my whole life, but I'm interested in movement and I want to live longer, a healthier life, I'm thinking, geez, I'm already checking out when you start talking about muscle, because you're thinking, got to go to the gym.
There's bodybuilding aesthetic.
Got to get that aesthetic.
Yeah.
And that is certainly not what we're promoting.
Nope, not at all.
By any means.
Yeah, I'm glad you honed in on that. So on another end of it, I want to talk about sarcopenia, because this is becoming a real epidemic. And what's really happening, so sarcopenia is like what you've heard of as like your skinny fat. So you're skinny, or you appear, skinny, so it appears healthy, but based on your body composition, your percentage of fat mass is extremely high compared to your significantly low muscle mass. And it doesn't necessarily have to be like a skinny. It's more the body composition balance.
Yeah, and it's body composition balance, right?
Yeah. Sure. So it's really defined as age-related loss of skeletal muscle mass, strength, and function. Okay, but again, on the outside, aesthetically, these many
do not look obese.
They often look skinny. So you don't think anything negative of it. And why is this becoming a real epidemic? Really because of the GLP-1, the weight loss injections, because what it's doing is it's significantly blunting appetite. And for some reason, it tends to do that towards protein.
Blocks out protein.
Yes. So you're not hungry. You're not as hungry. So you're not eating as much. And your desire to eat protein goes down. Right. And so already you're just not consuming enough protein, and you're not focusing on building the muscle by weight bearing or weight loading, resistance training, whatever it is. So we're starting to see, walking around, you see everybody starting to somewhat aesthetically look better because they're losing weight, but metabolically they are unhealthy and they're getting unhealthier, right? So we got to pay attention to that. And I see this like in our neighborhood. We could tell a couple
Oh, sure,
people
of course,
that
you
have
can
been,
pick up on it. The GLP-1s is one part of it, but of course, you guys already know that there's more sedentary lifestyle probably than ever before.
yeah,
And there's certainly a lot of technology that's allowed people to sort of work from a home computer, or maybe they're just spending their free time doing whatever, scrolling social media. You guys can
right.
name a lot of reasons on your own why we're more sedentary now than we ever have been.
Right. We're more aware of it now,
Sure.
right? But that doesn't mean that we're doing anything to make ourselves less sedentary.
Right.
When you talk about back in the 40s, 50s, 60s, whatever, and people weren't as, it wasn't as aware, but people weren't as naturally sedentary because we didn't have the lifestyle of these making everything easier at home, these desk jobs,
Of
or
course.
ordering everything that we can from our little device right here, so we never
Yeah.
have to go get anything,
Go
you know.
out,
So it's like
right.
we are sedentary. So we're aware that we are, but we're not doing anything about it. So going back to sarcopenia, why is this a crisis? It precedes frailty. So
Yep.
this is
Exactly.
happening first before you
Mhm.
become frail. You don't just wake up and all of a sudden you're frail. You are losing your muscle mass, right? It drives insulin resistance, which is also why someone can be very skinny appears very skinny, but they have diabetes, right? And a lot of times we think about diabetes being like an obesity disease, but not with sarcopenia, right? Increases fall and risk and fracture risk. Okay, obviously, I mean we're frail. The muscle's not there to support, and we'll go into that a little bit. Other parts why it accelerates cognitive and metabolic decline. Cognitive, right? We all want to be focusing on our brain and being able to be alert and think better for longer. And but muscle, if we're losing the muscle, I mean it's affecting that. So it's sarcopenia is not something that's inevitable. It's not just going to happen, right? It's something that is actually largely preventable.
Sure.
You just have to put the work in. So I want to go into this muscle bone connection too, because again, we think like, oh, our bone mass is decreasing. We're getting older. That's what happens. I need to take more calcium. I need to make sure I'm taking my magnesium, make sure my vitamin D. Yes, yes, yes. But let's go back, right? Root cause approach. Why? Why is this happening? So if you want to think about it, bone uses muscle, right? Bone pulls from muscle. And what this really means is a muscle contraction. So your muscle contracting is what stimulates bone formation. And if the muscle's not there doing the contracting, it's not naturally just telling your bone to form. And the contraction also signals your bones to stay dense and strong, right? So again, if this is not happening, then the bone is not happening. And of course, we know without muscle load, this is obvious for most, but without muscle load, the bones weaken, bone density declines, and risk factor increases, right? Muscle supports our bones, right? I always say that too. If like, you have bad knees, like let's strengthen the muscles around your bone to support your bone. So we know that they do great for support, but just the natural contraction of the muscle, what it's doing for the bone, is very important. So
That's a very simplified approach coming from you, because Lisa's an exercise physiologist, and I know there's a lot of technicality in the aspects of how does bone break down or build back based on these muscular contractions.
Right.
And while it might be a super complex topic, it's a simple way to explain it.
Right.
And there is of course, there's
we
a
got to
very
contract our muscles.
very strong relationship between the two.
Yes,
for sure.
So remember, bone health is not just like a calcium issue, right? It's really the low muscle mass equaling low bone stimulation, which is causing poor bone health.
Yeah, and not to derail too far off, but if a recent study says that not getting that taking in more protein will reduce osteoporosis, can actually return and restore the bone back to a normal bone density. You can surmise that, okay, if I'm not getting enough protein and I'm sedentary, the muscle breaks down, right? Because you have to free up those amino acids for other very important things.
Yeah.
So it'll break down to build neurotransmitters, hormones,
right,
enzymes, things that are sort of more important.
It's just
than
another
muscle
thing that's pulling from
that'll pull from the bone mass. So the people that are sedentary and not consuming enough protein, man, it's a double whammy, because the bone is definitely not, A, it's not responding to muscular contractions and load, and B, it's getting less ability from the muscle because the muscle is breaking down to feed the rest of the body. because that's
Right.
what the body does. When there's a deprivation of
It takes.
protein, it takes from the muscle reservoir.
Yeah.
To free up again those amino acids.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. So osteoporosis, osteopenia. So we're talking about bone mineral density. Certainly something as you age that you'd want to know what your Z score is. You'd want to know. It's rather easy to do, and just keep in mind it is a reversible condition. I watched it with my mom, so I have firsthand, very
That's true.
real proof of how you can do that.
It is true. Yeah. So let's enter, because you were just pulling in protein,
Yep.
which is like perfect timing.
Yep.
So it's really the most misunderstood longevity nutrient.
Okay.
Protein. It's instructional. It's not just caloric. We're not just thinking like eat protein for calories or eat less for calories. This is not the caloric component that's important. It's instructional, what it does for our body. Now we talked about the essential aminos, right? Obviously,
which make up the protein,
right? And I'm going to have you like go into why we need both and everything when we're talking about what's in front of us specifically. But the amino acids are required to preserve muscle, support bone matrix, and repair connective tissue. Big things. Now we talk about this RDA. I know a lot of times I do get questions like what this is on your supplement facts, has to be there, your recommended daily allowance. Now this is what we say often, it's the minimum of amount of something, of a nutrient, to prevent deficiency, which is really to prevent disease. It was never intended to preserve muscle, to prevent sarcopenia, and to support bone health. Right? So there's these new optimal levels that we're hearing, and then you'll hear this back and forth, and it drives me crazy when I will listen to certain. It's like these doctors kind of want to contradict each other or argue against each other, because you still have one saying that you don't need as much as this new optimal level that we're saying, but you do. The optimal recommendations are higher. They're higher on purpose because they're there to optimize health and survival. Right? It's extremely important. So when we talk about what we recommend, and very many doctors, health professionals right now are recommending, is 1 gram of protein per pound of desired body weight. Okay, so if you weigh 180 pounds and you really should be weighing 150, then you need to do 1 gram for 150, right? So 150 grams of protein daily. And you might be already thinking, oh my gosh, that's a lot. And I feel like this is the conversation I have with my mother all the time. My mom is very big into health. She exercises all the time, lifts very heavy for her little petite frame, but she struggles to get protein in. And I want you guys to understand that it's not that hard. And I'm actually going to break it down for you a little bit of what is.
How you do it?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Awesome.
It's a great. We were actually just listening to this podcast, but this doctor recommends starting your breakfast with 50 grams of protein and dinner ending with 50 grams of protein, noting that really those are the two most important meals for your protein, because breakfast, you're coming off of an overnight fast, and then dinner, you're going into an overnight fast. And when you're fasting, it's catabolic, right? Catabolic, breaking down things. So we want to make sure that we are having that protein stacked between our fasts to make sure it's there. So those are just important things. So think about protein, non-negotiable.
Yeah.
Heavy breakfast, dinner.
And what the ideal body weight Lisa's referring to, you can find that in our health assessment if you guys have not done it or want to share it with somebody. So check out the health assessment that we have in the back office. Share it with friends, family. You can take it. It's very easy to do. It takes a few minutes.
And you can take it over and over again, because as you improve upon your health, as you make health changes, you would hope things would change, right?
Yeah, I'm trying not to interject too much. I'm waiting for my chance to jump in on top of
the
composition of the proteins and stuff.
Well, yeah, first let me give these examples, because I was just talking about how my mom seems to think it's very hard. And my mom...
I'm going to preface this with that we definitely recommend this does not replace whole foods.
Yes.
I know we're talking about supplements today.
Well, yes. Well, I'm about to talk about whole foods here. Perfect. And I'm going to talk about why these are major players and how they help. So let's go and talk about animal proteins, right? Because first of all, vegetarians, vegans, very, very hard to get the adequate protein. You have to work that much harder, because a lot of times eating the approved foods for your diet actually will end up increasing carbohydrates, and calories significantly just to be able to get in the protein. And a lot of times it can lead to GI upset because a lot of those foods are very fibrous. But let's just go into animal proteins. I'm gonna give this a range 4 to 6 ounces of cooked. Okay, so it's very common. What they say is 4 is like at the palm of your hand. But what I would recommend if you're having trouble getting the protein in, go to that 6 ounce serving. Okay, because the 6 ounce serving of a chicken breast is 45 grams of protein.
Oh, man, I think I would have said less. Okay.
That's a 6 ounce.
You sure?
Many people don't do a 6 ounce. They'll do the 4 ounce. 4 ounces is about 35. Still a lot, but think about it. If you're trying to get that 50 in at dinner and you're like, I just want to have chicken in a salad, have 6 ounces of chicken. You're right there at 45 grams, guys. A steak, same thing, for 4 to 6 ounces, 35 to 45 grams. Ground beef, this is like your 85% lean, 30 to 40 grams. Again, okay. I'm doing all 4 to 6 ounces. Salmon fillet, 30 to 40 grams. White fish, just simple white fish, cod, 30 to 35 grams. Easy to do that, right? We should be having at least two of those servings daily, right? That's easy to do, right? Your lunch, dinner. Some people don't necessarily need breakfast food for breakfast, and they'll have that as well. But let's go into eggs and dairy, because for most people, breakfast does have to do with more eggs and dairy. A little bit harder to do because one large egg is 6 grams of protein. So eggs are wonderful. The incredible edible egg provides so much, but you gotta make sure you're eating more than just one egg, right? Yeah. So you take 3 eggs and you're close to the 18 to 20 grams. But a cup of Greek yogurt, 18 to 22 grams of protein, right? I'm helping you understand that this is attainable. Cottage cheese, I love, 24 to 28 grams of protein. And then it's just an average cup of milk, 8 grams of protein. So again, it's some, but that's not necessarily going to move the needle. It has to be combined with something. So example right here, like take a cup of milk with a scoop of protein powder. Greek yogurt. What I really like to do is add a scoop of the chocolate into yogurt because it's like pudding. There you go. So good. Nice. So right there's easy ways to make this happen. So like an example for a breakfast, you could have your 3 eggs, a cup of Greek yogurt, and a little protein combo, right? I mean, it's not hard to do. This supports muscle and bone health without overeating, right? We're fueling our body with what it actually needs. But now we're going to enter in our what we're talking about today, because
and you can see how tough it's going to be for a vegan, vegetarian to be able to hit their protein goals.
It is
going to be really, really challenging.
Yeah, it is. And again, without aggravating your GI system with heavy loads of beans and quinoa and stuff like that, it's hard, or increasing calories and getting your carbohydrates way too high.
Exactly. That's where you run the risk with whole food, is you can push your calorie intake so high.
Mm-hmm. Protein powders, why they help, why and where they help. So we just talked about whole foods. Those always come first, right? These are supplements. These are supplements to a healthy diet. Protein powder, still a supplement. They help close protein gaps. They support muscle repair, and they provide the building blocks for bone matrix. So again, you add them in to close these protein gaps. I'm sure I still need an extra 20 grams of protein today, or 40 grams of protein today. There's your 2 snacks, right? 1 vanilla and then 1 chocolate, right? Easy to do. I don't want you to think of these, because we also talked about like bodybuilders and stuff like that. I don't want you to think about these as gym supplements. Mm-hmm. These are not gym supplements. Right. These are everybody, everyday supplements, right? So get that out of your head also. Same thing goes with things like, or it's not here, but like creatine, stuff like that. Not gym supplements. That's what we once thought. Like, oh, only meatheads go and make a protein shake after they work out. No, everybody does. Everybody does. I try to get my kids to have them, just to close the protein gaps. So let's talk about why. First of all, I have both of these here, right? So
of course,
we have protein powders and we have essential aminos.
Yep.
I want you to talk about the protein powders and the essential aminos, but also why we need both in our diet and why they're different. Because I've actually gotten this question several times, and even I feel like we've talked about this before. We haven't really dug in lately. So let's go.
Yeah. Look, there's a standardization for what you would consider the health of a protein. Whey has sort of been the gold standard, right?
Mhm.
But she just named off like some eggs and dairy, right? Some different types of meats. All of them will have a different composition of amino acids to make
Mhm.
up the proteins, right? And that's no different than what we're talking about when you have protein supplements as well. So in this case, you have a whey protein, right? Grass-fed, pasture-raised. In this case, you have an organic, plant-based pea protein, for the most part, pea. And these two will have very different amino acid compositions. At the end of the day, amino acids are what make up proteins, but they act differently a little bit in the body. And I think that's why, like, as an example, to illustrate something. So like breakfast, again, I prefer the egg route, but often I'll go to the gym, I'll work out, but I will combine one scoop of each. And I know that's 40 grams. It's a lot in a supplement form of protein.
Mhm.
It's not that I'm saying it's not ideal, but you got to have the whole food component as part of the whole plan. But when I do this, I do it on purpose because the composition is different and it has different, like, even release mechanisms. The time release is a little bit different between whey and plant. So you're not just giving your body a giant bolus of protein or therefore amino acids. Because what happens is when you consume the protein, you know what's happening in your stomach is the proteases and such. They're all in there to break down the protein, and they're going to break them down and free them up into their individual amino acids. And then the individual amino acids are what absorb really through the small intestine into the bloodstream. They circulate and they kind of reassemble, or they trigger mechanisms, right? They trigger
Mhm.
other things. So you need these amino acids in circulation, especially the nine essential amino acids. So in a
Mhm.
whole food, I don't know what there is. There's 20 plus amino
Yeah.
acids in a whole food
20.
on average, but nine are essential, which means we have to supplement, meaning get them from somewhere else, get them outside of our body. So whole food or supplement form. When you do not get all nine essential aminos, your body will be searching and looking for the other essentials because
Mm.
it does need them in concert, right? All together. And that's what the problem is on the BCAAs, right? When you just take branch chain amino acids, which is your leucine, isoleucine, and valine, just those three by themselves, it's potentially, and I'd say it's theoretical, but it's sort of been proven that it can cause more damage, more harm than good, because it can
It needs
break
the
down.
others.
It needs the others. It
Yeah.
needs the others. The body all of a sudden is, oh crap, I have a bunch of this, but I need all of it together to be able to make. And why is this all important, guys? This is all important for muscle protein synthesis, right? It's those three words. And that's the idea, is that the body is in a state of muscle protein synthesis. It is building muscle, right? It is
Mhm.
preserving muscle. And this is not that like giant oversized muscle, big time hypertrophy where you're all jacked up. This is just your normal healthy body composition of muscle that your body wants to have as long as you're active and you're loading it. If you're walking enough throughout the day, or you're lifting a little bit of weight, but you're certainly moving and you're not sedentary, your body wants to do that. That's the normal biological process. And so that's the key. It's muscle protein synthesis. Now, your body will, after a period of time in fasting, will start to break back down, and that's a normal process as well. So that's one of the reasons why I love the essential amino acids, because they're in free form.
Mhm.
Free form amino acids. It's a way to supplement. I don't want to say to trick the body, because that's not what's happening. But you're telling the body, hey, here's the amino acids, and you're really basically getting no calories with it. So it can kind of be done. You can answer to this. Can it be done in a fasted state? So you have these essential amino acids that keep the body sort of in that muscle protein synthesis state, and the fuel the body needs. And as a reminder, this isn't just about the body's muscle. It's also because the amino acids are very, 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 very critical to building up our neurotransmitters. I mean, you guys certainly know that there's tryptophan as an example, right, as a precursor. It can be serotonin, and so a lot of our neurotransmitters depend on amino acids, right? Our hormones depend on amino acids. So now you're getting into the sleep, the stress, the mood,
Sure.
right? The energy, all these different things. Whereas protein hasn't necessarily been viewed as an energy macronutrient, but it certainly does have and plays a very important role in that, because of, again, all these critical precursors. That's what's really cool about the essential amino acids, and having all nine essential together, again, very important.
And did you
Um,
mention, sorry, that the fact that
mhm.
they're free form, like we
I
don't
did.
break,
Yeah,
okay,
I did
just make sure we
freeform. I
don't
said
break, we
freeform.
don't
So you're
break them
not breaking
down,
them down. You're not. Your gut isn't necessarily looking to do the
do anything.
digestive process the same way.
Right. So while you're talking about that, I want to jump into the autophagy before you go too
Sure.
far, because you mentioned both. So, or sorry, if he mentioned fasting. Will these essential aminos break a fast? Now, if you are fasting specifically for autophagy, right? That's basically like a strict water fast. These essential aminos will break that fast because it's giving your body the amino acids. But if you're fasting for like the digestion, right? Give your digestive system a break, which I always say should be at least 12 hours,
Yeah.
so your body can do other things. We're supposed to do other things. That's why you fast when you're sleeping, right? It's like when you're repairing. So much is going on during that state. So if you're fasting for those purposes, as well as to help maybe decrease calories or control what you're eating throughout the day, essential aminos are wonderful, right? Because of what Dr. Ryan had just explained. They really help during that fasted state, so we're not pulling from the muscle. And this is how I use them. When I wake up in the morning, I'm taking these about 5 o'clock in the morning. I am not yet in a 12-hour fast because I'm finishing eating dinner between 6 and 7. So let's just say 7. So my real, 12 hours would be till 7 a.m. But I'm actually not eating I'm anything until probably between like the 9 and 10. But I'm having my essential aminos for sure. I'm preserving that muscle mass. I'm making sure that my fast is done in a healthy way. But you want to know the number one thing? I'm just going to slide in there for autophagy. If that's what your goal is, exercise, building muscle, stressing the body. So
real quick on the essential aminos, so it is important to understand there is a ratio, right? In the whole food world, in the animal kingdom, there's a ratio of amino acids that is very important. You have to recognize that, and we do recognize that throughout. And that's what we did. So the leucine, for an example, the leucine in particular needs to be a certain percentage-wise higher than the other essential amino acids. So as a ratio, leucine should be higher, and we've definitely done that.
Sure. And if you also don't know, what else did you add in here? Because it's beyond the 9 essential.
The arginine and citrulline.
And glutamine.
Glutamine. So non-essential amino acids, but they are, again, awesome essential amino acids that are really great for nitric oxide synthesis.
Right. And muscle.
But so just one more thing too, like talk about full transparency. If you look on the back of both bags, you'll see amino acid profile per serving. You will see exactly the analysis of how much of each amino acid in there. And leucine in the plant is 1.768 grams. Leucine in the whey is 2.157 grams. So that makes sense. Whey tends to have a little bit more of a higher ratio. Again, kind of that gold standard, but plant-based is still a suitable alternative.
Right. Yeah. So, I will get the question often about like, oh, well, I see there's amino acids added to the protein powders. Do I need to take essential aminos too? These are the amino acid profile of the food. If you were, this is the protein powders itself. If you want to consider it's a food supplement, so that's the profile. It was not added to.
That was us just going for full transparency. I don't think many people recognize
that's almost like if you go and you buy a steak and it lists on there the amino acid profile of the steak. Sure. It's not going to do that, but that's the same thing. And each of these are only 100 calories, or like 100, 100 for 20 grams of protein. So when we talk about closing the gap, this is a big deal. These help tremendously to reach your protein goals, right? Really, and again, you can have these. I think it's great to have them in between meals, right? This is your snack, or again with a meal to help get that protein content up.
Or you can make protein ice cream. You can do protein muffins, protein pancakes.
Right.
What else do you do?
Well, like I said, I put it in like yogurt or cottage cheese.
You put it in your coffee.
I love the chocolate in the coffee.
Yeah.
There's
a lot of stuff you can do. Now, don't get fooled though, because a lot of these brands, these big food brands, have gotten into the protein trend mostly around the GLP-1s, right? They're trying to keep up with trends. But it's real catchy. Get your protein, but you don't really want to get your protein from candy, right? It's basically still
a lot of protein
chips, or just junk food, right? So be careful with the composition of food.
Right. But use the protein powders to make your own stuff. You're saying, protein ice cream,
Sure.
Get creative, have fun with it. And if you have kids too, this stuff tastes good.
Yeah.
So it's easy to experiment with.
Definitely.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that was a lot about it. And then I'm just going to touch on resistance training.
Yep.
Guys, walking is great. These 10,000 steps a day, great. But you have to resistance train. You have to lift something. You have to do resistance bands. You have even twice a week. Just
Right.
squeeze it in there twice a
Exactly. So
week.
it's doable.
Get some kind of full body routine. You don't have to spend hours. Do a 20 to 30 minute full body. YouTube has them. I use them. I know what I'm doing, but sometimes I just want a video. When we were in the mountains, I traveled with some bands. I just found a 20-minute band workout to do in my room. It can be done.
It was
Everybody
funny.
can do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Everybody can do it.
Yeah.
And resistance bands, if you're like, what is she talking about? Go on Amazon,
Yes.
look at
YouTube.
resistance band, get yourself a pack because you have all different kind of strengths, right? You don't need to have dumbbells or things like that, but also get creative at home for other things you can lift, the jug of water, body weight stuff. It's wonderful, but you have to resistance train. Muscle and bone both require mechanical load. Mechanical load is the resistance train, the lifting, the squatting, the whatever that is.
So a couple days a week of that, maybe a couple days of walking. Every day is some movement.
Yeah.
But nothing extreme.
Right.
Now, if you want to be extreme, I mean, I think Lisa's sort of extreme, but but she's smart enough to know that there's recovery is important, breaks are important, and all of that. So let's go to some questions, though. Huh?
Yeah, go. You read through that while I'm looking. So just remember, guys, muscle span also gives you the independence, right? Yeah, and we all want to be independent as long as we can, and your muscle span is going to help you.
Yeah, Kim was like, yes, I've been working out 3 times a week with my 22-year-old son helping me.
Amazing.
Dude, if you've got that, and you just check 2 boxes, you're socializing, it's wonderful. I mean, if you can do that in group fitness, if you can do that with neighbors and friends, I mean, you got to sometimes break out of your comfort zone to grow. So if you want to ask someone locally to work out with you or do something great.
But you got to start.
So this question from bodybuilders, athletes, or those who exercise more than just the regular, do they need more portions of the protein in these products? So quite frankly, no. This podcast talked about how the high performing athletes, the people that are dedicated to working out a lot, actually the requirements are lower because the muscle protein
they have all that
being
muscle
triggered by the working out portion.
Yeah.
The requirements are going to vary, but they're probably still shooting for a gram of protein per pound of body weight. But the most critical demographic that needs a protein like by their diet and definitely would be what? The aging elderly pop. I don't know where that cutoff is, what age that is, and the young. So in the middle, if you're an active person lifting and moving and load bearing, you don't quite frankly need as much protein. But
meaning you don't need to necessarily think about beyond that 1 gram per pound of body weight. But elderly going beyond that 1 pound is or 1 gram is important.
Yeah, and I'm glad you touched on the fasting. I knew that would be.
Yeah, I get the fasting question all the time, but again, there's different kinds of fasts, right? So strict water fast for pure autophagy, you need to just be putting nothing in.
Just nothing. Robin asked about protein shakes. They bother her stomach. I mean, that's typically the case with. I'm not saying it's the case with whey, or our whey. All whey protein can sometimes cause gassy, upset stomach, but most people will then shift to intolerant a plant product better. Maybe try that, Robin, if you haven't already. Any other suggestions on the
maybe not on a lower dose. Try half, but try not on an empty stomach. Maybe start your morning off with 3 eggs.
It's a good question.
3 eggs and a quarter of an avocado, and then have a protein shake. Right? You're not overdoing it to add 100 calories. Promise you that.
Is collagen powder a type of protein too? Yes, but it doesn't really get the luxury or the liberty of being counted towards your dietary protein for muscle protein synthesis. Collagen is the most abundant protein in our body, but from a dietary perspective, it has very unique amino acid composition that's vastly different than the dietary proteins, and therefore doesn't really trigger the body. It does some, but doesn't trigger the body quite to the level for muscle protein synthesis. I mean, it's very concentrated in, obviously, we know our hair, skin, and nails, but the collagen can be found in other parts of our body that is so important, like the inner lining of our blood vessels, the eyes, your tendons, your ligaments, gut lining is a big one. So collagen, very important. We didn't talk about it today because it's not really in the bucket of dietary muscle protein synthesis. Which protein powder breaks down slower? The whey is going to break down a little slower, is my understanding. So I can double check and confirm that and really get you some real technical data on that. But that would be my idea, where if I'm consuming these both together, which I do, and I actually really love it, the plant would be the more immediate release, and then the whey would be a little bit of a slower release.
I just like this comment. Someone saying they lost muscle mass in 5 years because of so many surgeries, which are common. Sometimes we just have these cluster of years we're just hit back to back to back with things that keep us sedentary. Even more important of why you need to make sure
That's
you're
right.
hitting your protein and your essential aminos. And I would say take these 3 times a day. I
Yeah.
mean, I personally take them 2 times a day right now,
Yeah.
but if I was sedentary, I would be loading.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that you also need to take too that we can talk about. Like creatine, of course, should be on board. You know, we need the
Sure,
collagen
sure.
should be on board, right? But you know, maybe talking about different topics a little bit. All right, let's see.
Yeah, and like I said, personally, I'll have one in the morning before the gym on an empty stomach. So coming from an overnight fast, I do 1.5 scoops combining the two. I do a scoop of vanilla and a half a scoop of chocolate. That's with my breakfast. And then I take another scoop kind of between lunch and dinner, somewhere in between to help, bridge that. And again, it helps you preserve muscle, like during those little bits of fasting. Are we doing more?
I just feel we're running long on time.
Okay. Well, let me just review a few things while you're looking last. So I want to review just a few little final takeaways. So muscle is our longevity organ. Muscle span defines our health span. Sarcopenia is the real epidemic. Muscle loss leads to bone loss. GLP-1 weight loss without muscle is very risky. So I'm not saying don't do the GLP-1 weight loss injections if they work for you, but you have to focus on building and maintaining muscle. Get your protein, right? 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight is ideal body weight is a great rule of thumb. And as Dr. Ryan mentioned, use our health assessment, which does have the ideal body weight calculator in there as well. And then protein, amino acids, and resistance training are non-negotiable in your life.
Awesome.
Got to do it.
I love it.
So longevity is not about being lighter. It's about being strong enough to live fully and safely, right? So we want that health span by using that muscle span.
And not to mention too, the protein, the satiety that you get with protein will really help curb some cravings that you have when you're just kind of munching a little bit.
Oh gosh, yeah. Put those 6 ounces of chicken on a salad. If you want to eat a salad, you're going to be full.
Yeah. Is there a goal percentage of body muscle mass?
There's not a goal percentage. It's more about the body composition in comparison to your muscle mass to fat mass.
Yeah. But as a percentage, like I'm under 10, which is super duper lean. I probably need to be a little higher. Males can run leaner than female, right? For fat mass.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, good stuff. So yeah, we did go long. I love this topic because I truly feel it is so important and not enough people put a value on it.
All right, awesome, guys.
But thank you.
Push-up counts, resistance, exercise. Hey, Ivan, absolutely, buddy. And not that many.
Push-ups,
truly not that many. You know, it's like, I don't know, what's the number of push-ups would be considered movement and exercise? You know, if a male can do more than 10, it's not a high number.
No,
straight, unbroken.
Right. And if you're new to push-ups, guys, there's ways to get there. Start have a goal of 2 push-ups. Then do that for a while until you get to 3, and just you can do it. Set small goals for yourself.
Some people like to say to put the protein before the workout. I do it after, but I do the amino acids before. I mean, I guess, I do the creatine before, and it's another thing they say we could.
Right. It's also really good for the essential aminos too, to stack your workout. You can take them before your workout and then take them after your workout. That's important as well. I also do that with the creatine.
Yeah. So, all right, awesome, guys. Well, thanks so much for tuning in.
Yes, thank you. Appreciate it. Share this with your friends, please. And if we didn't get to any questions, make sure you email them to me.
All right. We'll see you next time. Thank you all.